Great. So to my left is Kostas Axarloglou, the Dean and Professor of International Business and Strategy at the Alba Graduate Business School, American College of Greece. We met 7 months ago, I think. And at the far end of the panel, being mic'd up, Theodosis Michalopoulos, the CEO of Microsoft Greece, Cyprus, and Malta. Welcome. Okay, very brief remarks, I think, Kostas and Theo, and then we'll go into a discussion. So Kostas, would you like to take the floor?
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening to all. Thanks, The Economist, for organizing yet another insightful gala dinner. I'm an academic, and that's a disclaimer, so that I'll touch a few issues on the high level and ending up with some challenges on the talent development. We all agree that there is a flurry of new technologies, the Metaverse, the Internet of Things, new platforms through which new services are developed that have an impact on both employers as well as all of us. At the same time, we have the development of artificial intelligence that facilitates the management of data to facilitate services through the new technologies, the Internet of Things and Metaverse and the likes. And we also have 5G as the network through which these services become real, have an impact on our lives. Now, the impact can be classified into groups: the companies, the employers, and all of us. The companies in terms of the internal operation of the companies, processes, new product development, new service development, and the likes, as well as their engagement with the rest of the community. And on us, in our everyday life, autonomous cars, smart homes, and are a few examples. Now, if you see the data, currently, most of the innovation is made by companies for them. Just to give you an idea, 65% of artificial intelligence applications and implementation have to deal with B2B applications between companies, so that they can want to improve their operation, they want to improve their new product development, and so on. So imagine what is going to happen when all this new innovation will reach our lives. At the same time, the Internet of Things is expected to enable between $5 trillion and $12 trillion of new value by 2030. That's huge. We haven't seen it before. Now, in this kind of environment that's very disruptive, we have seen already a major challenge: the talent gap. Technology changes. We don't have enough time to adjust to new technologies. New jobs and new professions become available, others become obsolete, and there is a gap where the companies really need new talent, but they cannot find it. We have done some work there, all the stakeholders, companies, by developing internal processes to continuous training of their employees, institutions, academic institutions with new programs and so on, even individuals getting into the mindset of continuous learning. The answer is lifelong learning. And we have done good work there. However, during the pandemic, and especially the second part of it, we also see a new trend. It's called the Great Attrition. From April 2021 to September 2021, in a few months, 19 million employees quitted their jobs in the United States. Quitted their jobs. 40% of them without having another job. People are leaving without having another job. Haven't seen it before. Why? Well, and that's the major challenge now. Employees care about other things than in the past. In the past, our relationship with our employer was transactional. Salaries, perks, benefits. Now, we want to have a joint purpose with the rest of our colleagues and the company. We want to have a sense of belongingness to the company, as opposed to just salaries and perks. That's what employees are looking for. And this requires a major change in the mindset of companies. Instead of offering more to our employees, we need to lead them differently in order to make our place a great workplace to work. And that's a challenge. Why? Because it requires a change in the culture of the company, of the employer. So, because my time is off, I think. Besides having the talent gap, which we're trying to deal with in the last few years because of the disruption, now we have the great attrition, and the challenge for the employers is to make their places an attractive place to work. And that requires a totally different leadership style and a totally different mindset, a difference in culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that sets you up very nicely. So yes. As the CEO of Microsoft Greece, Cyprus, Malta, are people looking for different things, and how are you responding?
Yes, the great resignation, as we call it, is there, definitely. Now, I will try to articulate based on this point how we did it, what we're trying to do in Greece. So our purpose as Microsoft in Greece was to be an enabler for growth and for the aspirations that the Greek state and the Greek country had. And if you look what has happened in the last 2 years in digitizing, for example, the public sector, and how a cloud-enabled vaccination platform was one of the most efficient in Europe. Who would have thought that some years ago? Or you can see the impact that technology is bringing to companies like the one Ambassador Payat talked about, JP Morgan acquiring a significant % of Viva, a cloud-enabled payment provider, one of the first in Europe. So I believe that there is a tremendous momentum in that aspect. We as Microsoft, we had a purpose-focused GR for growth, as we called it, plan, which of course, first of all, goes to the infrastructure. We are working on 3 hyperscale data centers in Greece. And trust me, infrastructure is very important as an investment always for a country. But on top, we are looking to reskill and upskill 100,000 of our fellow citizens. Very important, but still talent gap is there. Then we are supporting the Greek green transition. We signed recently an MOU with the biggest energy provider in Greece to support this journey. By 2025, our data centers will run in green energy, also in Greece. And keep in mind that whenever you take something from a server to the cloud, to our data centers, we are far more efficient than that. And also we are digitizing the cultural, we are supporting the government to digitize the cultural heritage, like ancient Olympia, changing the way the tourists are seeing the monument. So we think that there is a huge opportunity and there is a big momentum. Challenges are there. You talked about this, geopolitical, inflation. I would call out the biggest opportunity probably for Greece. I think that the RRF program is probably the biggest opportunity since the Marshall Plan. I think that we can have a tremendous impact on our country if we utilize in the right way. And on the other hand, I agree with Mr. Axarloglou that by far the talent gap that we're seeing in the market is very big. And
what is that gap? For both of you to just explain a little bit, where is the gap? What actually is missing? And whose responsibility is it to fill it? Is it government? Is it business?
Yeah, that's a big discussion. Should I start?
Absolutely.
So first of all, to make it pragmatic, the gap is that we have our partners and our customers out there looking for technical talent. And if you see, through LinkedIn is a platform we have, if we see the skills required by the market, software engineer, data analyst, data engineers, we cannot find enough people, and our partners cannot find enough people. And the easy way to see it is that, okay, we don't have enough STEM graduates, and that's a contradiction. we are on European average. So there's something wrong, in my view, in our view, with how, from university, you connect them to the market. We're not doing this enough. And yes, this is our shared responsibility, I think. We need to talk about internships, apprenticeships. We need to step into that, but we need also to have the legal framework for this. This is a huge problem because each one is hitting the other, the employees of the other company. So we are in a desperate need of on change of that will create the necessary talent gap, especially in the technology, especially in view of the RRF, that there is a huge transformation that will happen all around Europe, and we need more hands.
I think that the talent gap is not a Greek phenomenon. It's a world phenomenon. It happens everywhere. Second, I don't think that there is anybody responsible for it. Who is responsible? I guess, well, somebody should be responsible, besides God, that always we give it to him, right? Technology, that it is disruptive, meaning that changes things in a totally different way. So the technology does not change things incrementally. Well, we are here and then we're moving there. It changes the upside down, right? Technology. Globalization, that takes the impact of a new technology and propagates it everywhere in the world and makes it exponential. And therefore, we, human beings, don't have enough time to adjust. That's the problem with talent gap. And individually, we don't have time to adjust. Companies do not have time to adjust on that. Academic institutions do not have time to adjust, and so on. So the problem of talent gap is the result of all this technological innovation and globalization. That was happening in the past. 100 years ago, we had technological innovation, but we had enough time to adjust. Things were not going so quickly. Now we don't. What is the answer? Lifelong learning. We need to learn all the time, but to learn all the time, we need a certain mindset of learning, attitude for learning. I came here personally to learn from you. I have nothing to say individually, but I came here to hear Theo, to hear what Anna's 1N, 2N, whatever, right, have to say, what our minister has to say. That's an opportunity for me to learn. That's a mindset of all of us of learning. That's how you cover talent gap. Talent gap will be here all the time. We cannot beat it, but at least we have an answer on how to do it.
So lifelong learning is a lovely, lovely idea, but you've got to know what to learn, right? So, and Microsoft ought to know better than anyone virtually on the planet what skills are going to be needed in the next 5 to 10 years. So do you know, and how do you bridge the gap that you described? You should be telling us.
Yeah. So I think that that's the 1 million question. Probably I don't have an easy answer, but I have to say that I think lifelong learning and the need for upskilling and reskilling is there. But let's be very realistic that we need to get more people earlier in their lives, and also females. We have also female technology talent gap in coding. You cannot get anywhere if you don't know coding and you get in the mindset of that. There you can move easier to different aspects, but I have to tell you that for sure reskilling and upskilling will be something that will help us going forward. But inevitably, education system needs to ensure that people graduate with the right skills, and hopefully more people in the technology area, because apparently this is the area that needs more hands as we go through.
Let's talk a little bit about hybrid working. We don't have a lot of time left, but possibly the single biggest effect of the pandemic over time will be the impact on the workplace, and us not all being in offices all the time. So how do you see that looking, and how do we make this work for workers and for companies? Kostas?
I think that we are moving because of that. It was a great experience of the pandemic that impacted all of us at the same time. I think that we are moving in a world where jobs are location agnostic, if I may say so. In other words, it doesn't matter from where you work. And this is very important, and this is very important for people's mind. Part of their great place to work might be that. so that they can work from everywhere, they can work in a hybrid model, and so on. Now, if we move in this kind of model of location being, or work being location agnostic, then this creates a lot of opportunities, especially for this country, because we might have a lot of employees and lots of workers, high-end workers, working here and offering their service all over the world. We call them digital nomads, right? So this is the workplace environment I see, where you have a flexibility to work on campus or on the office or remotely. And what we have seen in this great attrition is that people are quitting their jobs, but they are not quitting necessarily their locations. They want to stay in the same location because the social network is very important for them. So jobs become location agnostic. People prefer the location as opposed to the job.
Theo?
Yeah. Look, I agree on the concept. I have to say that as Microsoft, we believe in the hybrid workplace. We think that certain things cannot be subsidized, and human factor will always make a difference. Now, based on how we see our employees, and what we ask from them, and also from our customers, apparently we are a provider, one of the remote working tools, we see that flexibility is probably the one thing that makes the biggest difference. The problem with that is that flexibility requires a new progressive legislation on how to act on this, and you have also to be careful of how you create burnout effects, work-life balance for the people, etc. But I think that the important thing for the hybrid is, first of all, how you also create the inclusiveness. The problem we see at the moment is that people that are, you talked in the beginning, Andrew, people that are at the office seems to have a better performance, or better, people think of them higher than the ones that are away. Also, imagine in meetings, if we are here, then someone is there. We have a different way of connecting. That's where Metaverse comes into place, and we hope that with our tools, we will use avatars, etc., with the main target to include better. And, but I think that there are some serious questions we all have to answer. I was thinking that on your introduction, the real question is that I have, some of our customers want people to be there, for example, and they invite them. So I have 2 salespeople, 2 technical salespeople, and the one says, no, I want to I feel it's risky. The other said, I will go. How do you manage this? Because the one that goes, but then the other has the risks. How? It's a very difficult aspect, and we have to be very careful on how, and I have to tell you that as leaders, I think this is the biggest question that we have to answer. But we hope that the tools and the hybrid workplace is something that is here to stay, and we need to answer this together, probably with the government, on the way we legislate. The old 8 hours continuous shift will not be there because this is not flexible. But then how do we ensure that employees and employers do not take advantage of this? That's a big question.
Last question is around the Metaverse. What is it, and are we going to enjoy it?
Theo, your term.
So, yeah, good question. So Metaverse is, let's say, the way that we can integrate the physical with the digital world, and we connect places, people, things, etc. So the Metaverses are already out there. Some of your kids, maybe, that are playing games, that's the biggest Metaverse we have today. Call of Duty, Fortnite, whatever is the biggest Metaverses today. So this is an opportunity. I think that the area has a huge opportunity, apart from gaming, to change the way we feel. For example, the hybrid working, yes, I do believe that avatars and having a different way of connecting versus screen will definitely change the way people perceive that. Or, for example, if you're in a supermarket and you walk to find a toothpaste and you want to ask someone if there are some virtual assistants there, like bots, that's a metaverse because they are in the physical world, but they are digital, and then they can help you get around. So I think it sounds more sci-fi than it actually is. We will see it more and more. Yes, it's big, but I think it's about us, how we will create the framework with ethical AI, etc., to make this to make this change a big improvement in our lives.
Kostas?
I think that he said it all, so I'm not going to add anything. I think that the Metaverse is the ultimate network or a platform of symbiosis between humans and the machine, the technology. And I think that that's going to be a challenge, and the ethical part is a very significant question there. Yeah. How we frame it so that it still is human, as opposed to machine.
Good. Our time is up, unfortunately, so if you can join me in thanking Theo and Kostas for their panel presentations.